So the Denver Broncos completely dropped the ball this morning, and they screwed over their fans, and I'm going to call them out on it. So this morning, the Denver Broncos released their free tickets for training camp on Ticketmaster. And I want to acknowledge that this year the Broncos are faced with certain logistical challenges because of the ongoing construction at Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit. But this is construction that you knew was going to happen well over a year ago, and you had plenty of time to plan for this year's training camp. And it feels like the Denver Broncos just flat out botched the situation. And I think it really boils down to three things that the Broncos did wrong, and it boils down to Damani Leach for me, the Broncos team president. Now, I think Leach has done an excellent job since taking over that role, and I don't think that this completely affects my opinion on Leach, but this does ultimately fall on him because there were several things that he could have done to make this a much better experience for fans. So, training camp tickets this year are limited to just 800 per practice. There are 13 total open practices, and they distributed these tickets on Ticketmaster, and I think that was the first thing that the Broncos did wrong. They've been using Ticketmaster to distribute training camp tickets for the past couple of years. Hell, I even remember a few years ago when tickets weren't even required. You could just go. Apparently, there were some capacity issues with Arapahoe County, and that's why they started using Ticketmaster. But there are several other distributors for tickets aside from Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster is a known terrible service. Their website glitches, their app glitches, it freezes up. There were several fans who were trying to get tickets today using the app who were in the queue for well over 20 minutes before they had to be, and they still weren't able to get their tickets because the app was glitching and it froze up. There are so many better services that you could use to distribute these tickets. You could even probably distribute them through your own website, like I've seen some other NFL teams do. So that's the first big mistake because there were several fans that weren't able to get tickets today because of Ticketmaster. Bringing in all these complaints here from fans on Twitter, they tried to go on Ticketmaster and they just weren't able to get tickets. This person booked a flight, but there were no training camp tickets. So, really frustrating just the way that this went about. I fortunately was able to get 3 tickets for 3 practices, but it seems that a lot of fans weren't that lucky. I was using a web browser and it wasn't as glitchy, but when I tried to get a ticket on my other account on my phone, it was completely glitchy and I had to switch back to web browser. So I can understand the frustration here from these fans, and again, if the Broncos don't ever use Ticketmaster again, that certainly would not hurt my feelings. The second thing that I think the Broncos did to really botch this situation is they aren't holding separate practices for season ticket holders. And season ticket holders have early priority to get training camp tickets. So they were able to scoop up tickets yesterday before the general public was able to get them today. When I went to get a ticket for Saturday's practice, the first Saturday practice, they had already been poached over by season ticket holders. I was on, I kid you not, right at 10 o'clock when those tickets went on sale, and I was towards the beginning of the queue, and I still wasn't able to get a ticket for that day because all of the season ticket holders had poached them. Not dedicating separate, specific practices just for season ticket holders like they have done in previous years, I think is an egregious screw up by the Denver Broncos. And it limits the amount of fans that do come that aren't season ticket holders or don't even have the ability to come to games at all. I'm somebody who attends all of the home games, every single one of them, but I'm not officially a season ticket holder. The wait list is like 8 years for season tickets. So I buy all my tickets individually. And again, it just screws over that sector of fans, and in my case, non-credentialed media that wants to be out there covering the team because it doesn't allow us to get the tickets that we need. And number 3, the third biggest screw up for me is why didn't you just move practice to a different facility altogether if you had construction going on at Dove Valley? You could still hold some practices at Dove Valley, but why not at least hold a couple practices up at Mile High? Or if they couldn't lay the football field down at Mile High because of other events there, like concerts or whatnot, why not practice at one of the local high school fields? Like, Jefferson County has a stadium in Lakewood that can fit, I believe, like 10,000 people. That would have been a perfect place to hold an open practice. And the Broncos had well over a year to organize that, arrange that, all of that stuff, and they just didn't do it here. So, again, I think this ultimately falls on Broncos team president Damani Leach, who is in charge of this entire side of the Broncos, the whole business side of the operation. He was the one behind the new uniforms. He's one of the driving forces behind the Broncos potentially getting a new stadium, and he's the one who ultimately is in charge of like public relations with the fan base. He's the one who kind of reaches out to the fan base and gets their opinion on stuff, and he's basically the sounding board that we as fans, and in my case uncredentialed media, can go to and just kind of voice our opinions on the current state of the team. And I think that Damani Leach kind of messed up here. And again, I think Leach has done an excellent job as the Denver Broncos team president, and this is not a full-blown indictment on the job that I think he's done, but this is just one area where I do have to call him out here, and I just think that the Broncos could have handled this situation a lot better than they did. So let me know in the comment section below, guys, how do you feel about how the Denver Broncos handled this situation? Because think about this for a second. You're a fan who doesn't live in Denver and you wanted to fly out for a training camp practice, just like that one fan that we saw on Twitter. You take time off of work, you book your flights, a lot of that stuff isn't refundable, or you can't get all your money back. All that stuff is just really frustrating, where you basically planned a whole vacation around this one event and suddenly you're not able to get into the event at all. It's just really, really frustrating, and I just feel like the Denver Broncos, they've handled these situations a lot better in the past, but switching to a ticketing system for training camp was, I think, a massive L, and not moving the practices to a separate facility when you knew that you were going to have these problems well over a year ago. I just think that the Denver Broncos could have handled this a lot better than they did. Alright guys, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And if you guys happen to have any extra tickets for training camp, I have tickets for the 25th, the 28th, and the 14th. Any other dates, if you guys could help me out and maybe help me get a ticket, that would be awesome. So that way I can bring you guys in-person coverage of training camp. Alright guys, and until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.